We love old cemeteries and churchyards, so come with us as we explore these places for the past. Right, let's go and see what we can see. I'm really looking forward to this one. In London back in the day, all the bodies were buried by the local parishes, so there's lots of small churches and lots of small graveyards, but they were very unhygienic. They were very, very unpopular unless you were a rat. So the council had 7 large cemeteries established, and these are called the Magnificent 7. The most famous of these is probably Highgate, and I was going to go to Highgate, but the website didn't make it look very inviting. It costs money to get in, which is fine, but it was all no doing this and no filming and no fun and no enjoying yourself and no being interested. Blah, blah. We will go there one day, but not today. I am not seeing anything graveyardy, but I'm guessing it must be behind this fence because that's got a railway line. Obviously, don't bury people on a railway line. So let's go through this way, through the yich. I was just beginning to wonder if I was in the right place, and then in the trees over there are some tombstones. So I think we're in the right place. Either that or it's a secret burial ground there that nobody knows about. And there is a sign that tells us all about it. So let's have a wee look at this. The first burial here was in 1841, and since then there have been almost 250,000, so yeah, it was all going to get cleared and the headstones were going to get removed, but there was a massive outcry, so they decided to leave it like this, which I think looks much nicer. Doing a spot of research, there's also a Jewish cemetery near here that dates back to the 1600s, but apparently it's fenced off and you need to get in touch with somebody to get the key, so we'll not be doing that this trip, but I think we might well be back. Wandering. That is another quite impressive sarcophagus or chest tomb in loving memory of Samuel Sherwood, who after 59 years of happy married life died on 12th December 1892 in his 92nd year. Wow, he made it to a good age for the 1890s. Right, do we go up that path there or do we go up the muddy path? Let's go up the muddy path. 80% of the burials in this place were in paupers' graves or public graves, communal graves for people that couldn't afford their own funeral, but yeah, this guy could afford his own funeral. This is from 1903 and that is William Henry Phillips. Right, we're going to go a bit off-road here because there's more through here, so let's just go for a wee explore. I'm sure nobody's going to shout at us. There's Joseph Collier from, can we see a date on that? 1886. Right back in the 1800s. You think this is quite interesting. Over there's an awful lot more. Right, this is going to be cool. Although I think if you see people creeping about in the bushes on their own here, they're not usually looking at gravestones. There's some communal graves. Let's have a wee look at this one. In loving memory of our dear child, Queenie Iris Wells, who died the 15th of October 1916. Could this be a child's graveyard, possibly? I have no idea, but it is quite interesting to find out. Keep looking up, and everywhere you look, there's more and more gravestones. Loving it. And this is the most impressive one so far, certainly in terms of height, and that is David Sharp. Can we see a date that's pretty well worn? Nope, that is nothing on that side. Lots of writing, but nothing really legible without standing here for half an hour and getting some very strange looks. So yeah, that's quite cool. That's the front of it with a wreath that says, "May his soul rest in peace." I am so pleased that this was not all cleared to make way for a park. Instead, it's all been left, and it's still a park. Let's go up this little path here because because I think this is going to be quite a big explore. Oh, there's a fairly grand looking stone in its own little walled off bit, and this is John James Baker Palmer from 1894, so it's all very old. And that one is in German. It is Edwina Alna Kirchenwitz from 1887. That is quite nice, isn't it? In a place where most of the monuments are of that sort of white sandstony stuff, black does stand out as well. And you take a minor detour off into the woods and there are lots of stones everywhere. This is really, really interesting. Look at that. So yeah, this was one of the Magnificent 7 and the first one that we have visited. So we'll do the other 6 at some point. Won't be this trip or I would end up getting divorced. I've never been in a graveyard quite like this. There's Richard Coyle from 1883, and as you walk down there's just, as I keep saying, tombstones absolutely everywhere. Look at that, that is so picturesque and so interesting. I wonder if they've all been recorded. There is a Friends of the Cemetery group. I'm guessing they may well have a lot of this written down. Really? really fascinating. Let's have a look over here at this rather large stone. I like that inscription. This is Francis Henry Bacon, husband of Anne Hagan, who died 1917 in his 41st year. And it says, loving and patient to the last, trouble and pain he bore. He is not lost to those he loved, but only gone before. Oh, I mean, look at it. Just look at it. There's tombstones over there, and here, and there, and there, and over there. I wonder if this was ever actually organised in neat rows like we saw when we were up at Weast in Manchester. I don't think so. I think this was originally designed like this, with meandering paths and nice wee places to end up. Wow, look at that. I keep saying wow, look at that. So this was when burial stopped being something for the parishes and became a business. This place was owned by a company, and you'd pay the company to get buried. And the company was established by an Act of Parliament, I believe. And then when they went bankrupt, it was all going to get cleared out, but that was stopped, as I said before, by public outcry. So that's why we're left with what we're left with. And there used to be some really cool like chapels of rest and chapels of ease here, but unfortunately during the last war they were bombed by the Germans and became unsafe, and ultimately met the fate of all things that people can't afford to maintain. They were ripped down. Anyway, that's a bit of a shame, but we'll see if we can find some pictures. In the meantime, I am just going to wander about aimlessly for the next hour and a half, I would imagine, at least hour and a half. I'll edit it down so you guys don't have to watch me walking about for the full hour and a half. Oh, look, I'm just too busy talking. I've just noticed all those stones are the same shape. They're all pointy with a cross at the top. Sorry guys, I'm walking across, you can't help walking across graves here. I'm sure they don't mind. So these stones are in memory of Brothers of Sutton's Hospital in the Charterhouse. I'm guessing that might have been like a monastic order, because they're all the same and they've all got 4 or 5 names on them, which is unusual, but yeah, I'm guessing there must have been a big Charterhouse here, a monastery or an abbey or something. And then you turn round and over there is a much grander bit. So let's go and look at the grander bit. Heading towards the back wall, that is Douglas Alexander of Springbank, Grenada, British West Indies, second son of Charles Alexander from 1910. Right, and on the back wall there is 1889 for, what does that say, Sadler, number 9126, and then there's quite a big impressive granite one. That's last dated quite well. Not sure, can I see anything on that? Yes, it is the Middletons, and can I see a date? 1895. There's a little pious inscription for you for Lavinia Peake, who died on the 20th of July 1874, aged 8 months, and George William Peake, father of the above, who died 20th October 1875, aged 37 years. A tender husband and a parent dear, a faithful friend lies buried here. It was heaven's decree, then why should we complain, since our sad loss is his eternal gain? The grandest stone in this little part of the cemetery is this one, this really quite impressive statue. I love the expression that she's got on her face. And this is in loving memory of our dear mother, Martha Homya. And yeah, it's the grandest stone in this corner, but where we're going there are much grander ones, I think. I wonder what that significance is. Private grave of Hannah Freeman. Does that mean that she's paid for it and nobody else can be buried there? I have no idea. And next to it is the family vault of Elizabeth Jackson, and there's a hole in the wall, so we're going to go and have a look through the hole in the wall and put the wee torch on. There's probably nothing in there. You tell me if you can see anything. I don't imagine you can. You can see there just how hemmed in by sort of urban development this place is. It is, to use the phrase, a green oasis is a bit of a cliche, but it's definitely a green oasis, and I wonder why that bit in there is fenced off from the rest of it. Let's see if there's any difference. Is this possibly a Jewish cemetery or a Catholic cemetery or something? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's just an arbitrary fence beside the path. And you turn round, look over your shoulder, and that is the view that you get. You could spend forever here. There's a girl running round in circles. This would also be an amazing place to run. That's another quite impressive slab, and that is the family grave of Bert and Nellie Waters, and the family graves of Joseph and Emily Meek, and the family grave of Joseph and Emily Gillens. Okay, let's keep going around this way. There's a little modern chapel, but we're going to head there back into the heart of the cemetery. I was wrong. It's not a little modern chapel, it's a fairly modern war memorial. How modern it is, no idea. But 1914-18, 1939-45, those honoured here died in the service of their country. So there's a map of the whole thing, and we are there, and I think we came in over there somewhere, so there's still a little bit to... Oh no, actually we didn't. We came in down here somewhere, I think. Not sure. Anyway, I'm not very good with maps, as you probably noticed, but I'll not show you the map anymore. What I will do is show you that in memory of Robert James Brown from 1875. And then this is a sort of grander part. It's all quite big memorials. So let's go and see what we can find. Oh, there's somebody from 1964. I didn't know they were still using this place in 1964. That's quite an impressive. I think they're called chest tombs, I believe. And this is sacred to the beloved memory of James Kinloch Walker Esquire, late of North Bankton, Surrey. Nephew to James, that's kind of lost in the stuff, but important bit for us, 1846. So let's go round the other side and see if there's anything else on that. I don't think... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was wrong again. Quite a lot. Sacred to the memory of James Kinloch Clement Esquire of Leytonstone, Essex, who departed this life in 1855, and his wife, who died in 1817. And then, if we believe that Jesus died to satisfy for sin, to save us from deserved curse and take away death's sting. Okay, very nice. Right, over here there's another wee statue. There's lots of people wandering about, and I'm talking to myself, but you've got to suspend your sort of "people are looking at me" instinct, and yeah, just keep going. There's a statue that's seen better days, but it has been there since 1810. So yeah, this is quite an old part of the graveyard, and quite an affluent part, and probably quite an expensive part if you want to get buried here back in the day. There's another big family tomb. That is William Naseby from 1840. This is making friends with the tree. Now originally these were facing out, or they still are facing out, of the cemetery, so they would have been the things that people walking past would have seen. So these people had their status in eternity ensured, like that Francis Baralier. I said insured, I meant ensured, but you knew what I meant. That one there for Johnny is also from 1960, and Lewis Daniel Cohen here is from 1960 as well. So this place was still in use in the 1960s, or certainly this little strip at the end of it was. It all looks higgledy and indeed piggledy, but once you actually look at it, there's a nice curve of tombstones there. So what would have been in the middle of that curve? What is the point? I don't think it's that thing there. I think, yeah, it goes along there and round there and round there. So yeah, this is the sort of middle, and there is nothing. But there is a sort of line of big flat stones along there, like this one here that we're going to go and look at, and probably not see anything because it's all covered in moss. It's all covered in moss. Slater something something, yep, can't really read any of that. Don't go to Highgate where it costs money and you're not allowed to film. Come here where it doesn't cost money and you can do what you want. That's quite nice, isn't it? I've not seen one like that before. But then we've never been in a London graveyard before. That is sacred to the memory of Marion Lee from 1848. Oh wow, this guy's got an extract from his will on the end of his tomb. This is Samuel Whittle Esquire, and it says, "In order that the said vault and tomb may be constantly kept in repair, I leave to the company called the City of London and Tower Hamlets Cemetery Company the sum of £100 free from legacy duty as a fund for this purpose, and I particularly request the directors for this time being will invest this sum in any way they may think proper, and apply the same and the interest dividend thereof in providing for the expense occasioned by such repairs." So he made sure that his stone was going to be kept nice, and in fairness, he's not got his money's worth because the grass hasn't been cut. But that is the tomb of Samuel Whittle Esquire. There's a few of these big flat stones here, and some of them have got things built on top of them and other ones haven't. And this one is sacred to the memory of Mary Walker, who departed this life 21st of Feb 1852. That's 18, yeah, it's a 5, not 1852. Yeah, so these are quite imposing. That would certainly keep the body snatchers out. And facing them, there's a lot more 1960s and 1950s gravestones. So yeah, this place was still in use up to, I keep saying recently, 1960 is not recent. Well, it feels recent to me because that's when I was born, in the 60s, not 1960, in the 60s, just. And those are all flat, and those are all flat, but Edward and Mary Thornhill had their family vault here, and they were from Upper Clapton, wherever Clapton may be. I'm guessing it's not far away. Oh, and what's this behind it? I'd never noticed this on the way past. It looks like a tree has come down and did a teeny tiny bit of damage to that tomb there. Let's go and see if we can see a name on it. Let's go and see if we can see anything. No, let's not go and see if we can see anything inside it. This is Thomas Lancey from 1865, aged 41 years, and Martha Lancey, his wife, I guess. And in there, all you can see is a big tree. That is a shame, isn't it? That thing has been there since the 1860s, and that tree has come down and gone straight through it. That's quite nice as well. That's another chest tomb, but it's like a vaulted top. It's like a sarcophagus. It is Thomas Docra Faith, son of John and Mary Ann Faith, who died in 1869, aged 3 months. And then Betty, wife of John, of Park House, Mile End. Again, there's an address there if you want to go and find it for yourself, who died in 1864. Because this cemetery was built, because the churchyard cemeteries were all getting overpopulated, so to speak, overpopulated with the dead, it's interesting to know that in London there's still an awful lot of little graveyards hidden away. You know, they go to parks and the gravestones are all round the edges. We're going to go and try and find some of those because, well, why not? I did not know there were 2 Bloody Sundays. On Sunday the 13th of November 1887, 10,000 people marched towards Trafalgar Square, which is in London, protesting against repression in Ireland and unemployment. Police and troops beat them with truncheons. A week after Bloody Sunday, Alfred Linnell joined a gathering in Trafalgar Square to protest against the violence, and he was run over by a police horse and died on December the 2nd. And look, there's one tiny little cross over there on its own in that little bit of, that does not look like a bit of burial, well, it must have been a bit of burial ground at some point. It could have been a pauper's grave possibly, because there's nothing here. So let's go and see if there's anything interesting over at this cross, and then we're going to go and look at something that I have seen out of the corner of my eye, but I'm not going to spoil the surprise. You'll have to keep watching. It is literally a little stone over here. I was going to say on its own, but I've just noticed in that tree there are more. But this one says, "Thy will be done," in loving memory of somebody who is lost under this pile of sand. Over there's a grave with an anchor on it. I don't know if you can see that. You'll see it soon enough because we're going to go and look at it. But first we are going to go over this way. I wonder if this was once a column type tombstone that's now fallen down, or if it's meant to be like this. But that is William Fry of Balham, and Caroline Margaret, wife of the above, from 1879, and Adolphus. They called their son Adolphus, and he died in 1855, aged 5. That's quite an interesting stone. And next to that it is Mrs. Sarah Dwelly, widow, died November the 28th, 1854. So we're right back in the mid 1850s. But what we're over here to look at is that, which is kind of like the ones that we saw in Weast in Salford. Again, it's the same sort of pointy thing. It's like the Scott Monument in Edinburgh as well, but the Scott Monument is a little bit bigger. And that is in memory of Janet Selina Westwood from 1863, and also James Westwood, and I'm guessing around here somewhere there will be a Joseph Westwood, and yeah, so that's Joseph and Joanna and their son, and they're from Tredegar House, Bow. But this is out of place. I don't know what this is. Let's go and see if we can find out by reading it. It says, remembering the Dr. Barnado's children laid here to rest. Dr. Barnado was a philanthropist and the setter-upper, and the man who established a lot of orphanages, and still has a charity still going. We know Barnado's from our visits to Barnado's charity shops, which are everywhere. We are in the 1920s with Henry, George and James, and oh, that's quite a nice stone, isn't it? That's compared to the rest. Again, if you look at the ones round about it, this is resting, and that is in loving memory of Charles Arthur Gingle, who fell asleep in 1927, aged 51 years. And my husband John William Hopkins and Jane Elizabeth Hopkins, and yeah, lots of Hopkinses. Let's keep going down this. It's a little bit tricky to see where to put your feet, not because of falling down a hole, just because of tripping over something. That was nonsense, Ian, you are gibbering. Actually, that one we just looked at, the stone with the resting on it, is just a stock headstone, because there's another 2 of them. Imagine showing up with exactly the same gravestone as the person next to you. One of you is going to have to go and get changed. I do like places like this. They are looked after, but they are not restored. Nothing's been put back. It's just been left to very, very gradually decay with a bit of care to keep it safe. This is John and Elizabeth Dalton, and I always thought these things were solid stone, but today I have learnt something, because if you look in the back of it, it's not solid stone, it is hollow. And if you want proof of that, there's another one down there that is equally hollow. And these two comparatively grand memorials are here because that is the gate. So if you're coming into the cemetery, you would see them first. There's all these little sort of chests and kists and things that are broken open, and you just can't help going and having a wee look in. Don't expect to see anything, but you can't help yourself. So I'm not going to look, I'm not going to look, I'm not going to, oh yeah, I'm going to look. So these are all from the early 1900s, 1905 that, for William John Barrett and Charles James Barrett, who passed away in 1900 something, that's under the moss, and then their sister who died in 1928. So yeah, we're back in the early 1900s now, so it's definitely an old cemetery. I don't think you could argue on that point. So we've made it to roughly the very middle of the graveyard, so we're going to keep going up that way. We're going to walk past Thomas and all his friends for eternity and see what is up this path here. I'm going to guess it'll be more gravestones, but I could be wrong. I don't think I am. There's John Edmonds Charlton at the back there, the one right there, who is jostling for your attention. It's like, look at me, don't look at all the ones at the front, I'm more interesting. And there is, in loving memory of our darling grandson Leslie, Francis George Cox, who passed away in 1922. He's 1 year and 4 months. Right, and up on top of this little rise in front of us, there's a big granite one, so that is where I'm going to go next. And on the way to that, you trip over little Ellen Shenstone from 1961. Well, not so little, and she died aged 61 years. So, but this is a thing that we're going to go and have a look at, because it is quite monumental and quite well made. So let's go and have a wee think. Well made, Ian, you're starting to gibber. And the granite thing is Sarah Ann, daughter of C.F. Perkin. And that's quite impressive. I'm guessing on the front it says C.F. Perkin. I'm going to try not to fall down off that step. It will say George, no, not C.F., G.F., George Fowler Perkin from 1865, aged 63 years, and his wife who was 65. And that's, yeah, that's quite nice. And we find ourselves, take a shortcut to look at that, and you find yourself in this little valley that is lined on both sides by gravestones. This is just incredible. Dear Mother Mary Scales, who passed away 1907. Oh wow, look at this one. That is a lot of lead on that. Anna Maria, daughter of Michael and Francis Muhm. That's M-U-H-M, unusual surname. In loving memory of Ellen Muhm, the beloved wife of Frederick Francis Muhm, who passed away in 1927. This side will be Gertrude, youngest daughter. Alright, so the whole family is in there. I wonder if they were mummified. No, okay, sorry.